Hey guys, I don't usually do this sort of thing, but I was given in the YouTube algorithm this suggestion for The Strange State of Jill Valentine. As you know me, I'm a giant Jill simp, so we're going to go ahead and watch this. This is by Thrilling Duck. I'll link the original video in the thing below. Yeah, let's take a look at see what Thrilling Duck has to say about Jill Valentine and see if I agree or not.
Hello, viewer. After my last video, it was brought to my attention that I need to take a quick disclaimatory precaution here, as my channel doesn't always receive the demographic traffic I'm expecting. I know this video's title is a little broad, so I want to let you know that this is not an entry-level Resident Evil video. If you came here thinking it would be a crash course on all things RE, I sincerely appreciate you stopping by, but this video may not be for you, okay?
Perfect.
This is somehow the very first RE video you've ever clicked on, and you've never even heard of Jill Valentine, and just decided to click on it for some reason, then I'm telling you in advance, it may not be for you.
Perfect.
Resident Evil is
a
long-running series with many characters and a lot of plot and lore, and this video assumes a lot of prior knowledge that I'm not going to be explaining.
We have that here. Yep, we're good.
Be here for 3 or 4 hours.
True.
I don't know how much clearer I can make myself on this.
You can't. Good job.
Okay, so
let's go.
Here's a weird one. I recently saw the trailer for Resident Evil Death Island. It looks really cool. I personally wish it was an actual game, Revelations 3, but it got me thinking more deeply about an idea that I had been loosely kicking around in the back of my mind for a while. Resident Evil is in an interesting place right now because there are kind of 2 slightly different variants of its characters existing simultaneously, but they're being framed as the same.
So yeah, like, I guess, like, Resident Evil 1 to 5 and 6, like, I guess if we're talking about Jill, Resident Evil 1 to Resident Evil 5, and then there's, like, a break-off sort of thing, and she exists again as a different Jill or whatever in the remakes. I guess they all kind of do.
Person. It's really uncanny and weird. I titled this video The Strange State of Jill Valentine because she was the first character who I noticed this phenomenon with, and I'll go into why that is in a bit, but she is by no means the only character that this applies to.
True.
To explain what I'm talking about, though, we need to go back in time a bit. The very first high-profile
there she is, my girl.
Evil game was the now definitive version of Resident Evil 1. This was released a long time before the more recent modernizations of RE2, 3, and 4, and as a result, its character designs, as well as their tone and writing, were much closer to those of their original incarnations.
I guess, just in case you're not aware, 2002 and Resident Evil 2 Remake was, what, 2019? So yeah, a 17-year gap. It's pretty big.
They're not exactly as they were before, and some characters, like Chris Redfield, would go on to grow further, in more ways than one, but overall, Resident Evil 1 Remake feels completely authentic to
the way Chris has been modernized is actually kind of hilarious in a cartoony way, and then like an even weirder way where he's just this kind of like surly drunk who's just watched too many of his friends and people that he loved die. Man, I should play through Resident Evil 6 again.
The Resident Evil universe as it was established in the releases predating it. Enough so that it effectively feels like a true replacement for the original title, for all intents and purposes. Now, let's fast forward a bit to Resident Evil 5. Hot take, I really like this one, and not just because it gave us the boulder punching meme. RE5 plays very similarly to RE4, but actually ties into the series' overarching narrative and concludes Albert Wesker's character arc. I miss him dearly, even to this day, but I was very satisfied with the note he went
I don't like Wesker.
Anyway,
I don't care.
I'm getting off topic. RE5 is significant to this discussion because it was the first appearance of what I like to think of as modern Chris, and the last chronological appearance of Jill Valentine, before her re-emergence in the upcoming Death Island.
Was Revelations before this? Oh my god, this timeline is so weird. Like, not the game timeline, the actual timeline of when games released. This is such a blur. I think Revelations was after this, wasn't it? I don't know, maybe he's right. Maybe this is the last chronological one.
Before Resident Evil 3 Remake, the last time we had seen Jill was in the first Revelations title,
right,
which is
okay.
old at this point.
True.
Revelations actually takes place slightly before RE5, but it's
so he means in
5 and
in
6, and long
story
before the remake
okay.
of RE2 that despite replacing her voice actress and face model, she still feels like the same character to me as the one from the
She's like a 1.5 or something. It's weird. I agree with him where she does feel very similar to like the Julia Voth one or the like HD remake one or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, she's like clearly very different.
The game whose releases
I always found her weird.
I'm going to call this variant Original Jill. Original Jill isn't necessarily the most complex and well-written character of all time, but she has some very distinct and consistent traits. Obviously, she's gorgeous and a total badass, but her portrayal in terms of her vocal performance, her choice of words, and even her body language, to a degree, emanate a certain warmth and this almost gentle quality. This characteristic emanates off her very strongly. I think I see where he's going to go in the contrast here. But yeah, new Jill is brash, kind of like shitty. Like, I kind of see where he's going with this. He's very right in that the way they kind of treat this character is completely different. I wonder if he's going to give like an opinion of which he likes. It's unmistakable, in my opinion. It's a very Eastern thing, to be sure, and in some ways, maybe one of the biggest giveaways that she was created by a Japanese dude, but it's a fundamental part of Original Jill. When you have a chance, replay or rewatch Resident Evil 1 Remake, Umbrella Chronicles 1, RE5, or even Revelations 1.
I'll just replay all of them. Let's do it.
The variant in Resident Evil 3 Remake, however, feels like a completely different character to me. But her look, while clearly inspired by the game it's a recreation of, is equally distinct, which I actually like. It makes it less off-putting when she opens her mouth and starts spouting cuss words. The thing about New Jill, I'm calling this variant New Jill, is that she's a much harsher character.
Yeah.
She yells more, she swears more, she goads her enemies more. To be clear, I don't mean to imply that anything about this interpretation of her is objectively worse or less.
Of course not.
Her actress is great, the performance is very raw. I'm not complaining about the changes themselves, but she feels like a fundamentally different person to me than the warm, oddly motherly variant seen in Original Jill. But ever since RE3 Remake released and Capcom staunchly refused to give Jill so much as a cameo in the Ethan Winters saga of RE7 and 8, I've been wondering how she was going to be handled going forward. And with the release of the trailer for Death Island, I think I finally got my answer, and it's exactly what I feared it would be. This is Jill's latest chronological appearance in the series. It is by far the farthest forward in time we have ever seen her, and everything from her look to her voice to her demeanor seems to be based on new Jill. Now again, this isn't necessarily a problem, but it does create an almost unprecedented situation. It seems to me that Capcom has decided that its latest remakes are meant to act as RE1 remake level replacements to the original counterparts, despite being substantially different in a number of areas. RE1 remake was extremely faithful to the game it was.
There is this weird paradox also where RE1 remake is part of the remake trilogy, I guess, right? And RE3 is part of the same, well, not trilogy, but like that series. And there is a clear difference between her in RE1 and in RE3 if we're going to take those together as one thing. Which is, I think, also kind of why some people have been saying they should do a Resident Evil 1 remake again with like the new model and the new engine and stuff like that. Just to make it feel a little more cohesive, which I guess I kind of get, but there is a weird character paradox thing going on here with her specifically.
From its map to its mechanics to its intended tone.
And
But
Chris,
the
I guess.
2, 3, and 4 remakes are not. They're great modernizations. Well, RE2 and 4 remakes are great modernizations, but they are not good replacements for their original counterparts in pretty much any department. 4 comes the closest, in my opinion, but still doesn't quite make the cut as an out-and-out replacement.
Totally.
We've already discussed Jill, but I want to take a look at Leon, Ada, and Claire as well. Leon gets very close to feeling like the same person, but not 100%. His portrayal in RE2 Remake feels faithful to who he was during the events of Raccoon City, but by 4 Remake, things have changed a little again. Now, in the remake's defense, everything they did with him makes complete sense, because it matches the tone that the remake is going for. It is darker, it is a little more serious, and it isn't trying to be completely campy. Leon still quips, but it feels like these lines are there more out of obligation than anything else, and their delivery is more grounded and less snarky. Again, this isn't a knock against the actor. The deliveries are perfectly organic and
they're great.
Appropriate. I would even argue it's objectively better written because it's more tonally consistent with the Resident Evil universe at large.
Yeah,
in a way
agreed.
That the original RE4 simply wasn't.
The original RE4 has more charisma, more character, I think. It's funner, just in general. Especially, I think that's kind of what got a lot of people, like a lot of, I don't want to say the word normie, but a lot of people that weren't already into the Resident Evil universe, because it was a dumb action horror thing with like dumb quipping and stuff like that. Whereas this is definitely much more in line. So he's right about the writing. There is a little to be desired in the fun element, I think, though. I don't know, maybe he agrees, but I don't know. Again, I guess that's like why both of them can exist or should exist, and one isn't necessarily just the like de facto replacement. But yeah, okay. I really don't like what they did with Ada, but I wonder if he's going to bring that up.
Better and worse. My feelings about Ada are largely the same as my feelings about Leon. Everything the remake did with her makes complete sense, and Lord knows she's dressed more sensibly for her mission in full remake than the over-the-top party dress she wears in the original, but she is somewhat drier and more serious in the remakes. Original Ada is kind of fun, flirty.
So that's kind of fine too. My big problem with the Resident Evil 4 remake version of Ada is that I think that voice actress got done dirty by somebody at Capcom saying that like these lines were okay. They should have done a few more takes or something, because I don't think they're up to the standard they should be. Some of the lines just feel downright bad, like presented or whatever, and that's a shame, because I don't think that's necessarily her fault. Somebody signed off saying that that was okay, and it clearly, in my opinion, it wasn't. I thought they could have done better.
Quality. And I hate to bring this up again, but like with original Jill, she had these sort of gentle eyes. They almost sparkled when she spoke, and her voice direction was completely different. She was much more flirty, and when she squared off with Leon...
Just to be clear, she didn't need to be flirty. That's not the thing I'm annoyed about. Just needed to be better. Just in general.
It genuinely felt like a dance. I have no explicit problem with new Ada, but God, I loved original Ada in a way she's just never going to emulate.
Yeah.
They are not the same person to me.
Right.
Lastly, let's take a look at Claire, who, in my opinion, has experienced changes just as stark as those of Jill. Original Claire, the character you see in
Claire's
Games
weird,
2,
yeah.
Code Veronica, and Umbrella Chronicles 2, also has a very distinct personality. She's sassy, she's cool under pressure, she exudes boundless confidence, and this last thing is more subtle, but there's an almost sharp undertone whenever she speaks. And, you guessed it, very few of these traits are present in New Claire, the variant seen in RE2 Remake. Claire's a strange case because there's kind of 3 variants of her. There was a one-off variant in Revelations 2 I call Cardboard Claire, but she at least maintained that air of endless independence, I guess. New Claire, though, the one in RE2 Remake, has more of this innocent schoolgirl vibe.
Yeah, she's a child.
A better term.
Yeah.
She still knows her way around a gun, but I don't know. She has a more apprehensive aura to me.
I mean, She hasn't been stuck in like years worth of turmoil from zombie apocalypses yet. But yeah, even from like the original RE2, she's very, she feels way younger.
Somehow.
He's right.
She has this awkward schoolgirl crush on Leon, maybe, but more importantly, she just doesn't bring that sharp sass. And I just can't imagine New Claire enacting the opening scene from Code Veronica. It just doesn't feel in character for her.
That's
somehow.
true. Man, now I want a Code Veronica remake even more, just to see how they fit New Claire into what Claire does, the bombastic, dumb shit that happens in that game.
And if she actually made it to Rockford Island somehow, I feel like she'd immediately take pity on Steve, rather than being totally annoyed by him. Okay, so, to bring this back to Best Girl Jill, while I'm thrilled that she's finally being brought back into the spotlight, and Death Island seems like it's going to explore her psychological state post RE5.
I hope it does.
14 real-world years. My very first thought upon seeing the trailer was, okay, but why does she look like that? I wasn't surprised in the traditional sense.
All right, but why she look like that though? True, brother.
To see her remake design. It makes sense from a marketing standpoint or whatever, but
it's iconic
make sense
now.
From a narrative standpoint.
No,
First of all, she sticks out like a sore thumb because everyone else in the trailer has their original variant designs. Leon has the grizzled RE6 look, not the new baby-faced one. Claire has her sharper original features and even voice quality, not the baby-faced new ones. Furthermore, even if you want me to believe that new Jill is the same person as original Jill, which I don't believe, by the way, why does she look exactly the way she does in RE3 Remake? Why is her hair back to the original styling? Older Jill had a ponytail. Why isn't it blonde? She didn't dye it in RE5. It became blonde due to Wesker's experiments on her. I know this is stupid, but it's a...
It's not stupid, first of all. When you're talking about Jill, all of this stuff matters. My theory is that, man, if you were, like, forced to be blonde against your will, wouldn't you want to, like, dye that shit? Like, she just gets some fucking L'Oreal from the supermarket and, you know, 45 minutes later, she's back to brunette. Yeah, this is all the problem with the fact that 1 remake and 3 remake are in the same continuity, and it's completely different Jills. That's basically the big problem here with all of this stuff. And I agree, it is weird, but like, there was no way we were gonna get Julia Voth Jill, original Jill, as the new Jill look. Like, they made her look a certain way, and now that's how she's gonna look from here on out until they do whatever. They even made it so that she like doesn't age or whatever because of the virus variant in her, so she's gonna look this way forever. Yeah, I don't know. I get where he's coming from, but like, it would be silly to think that they would go back to the old look when they made this, when they're trying to push this new one as kind of the new iconic look for Jill.
Look it up. And most importantly, why is she in her fucking civvies again? She only wore that in RE3 because she was caught off guard, off the clock. Why is she going on missions with fully geared up Chris and company in her fucking blue tank top? Is it because she wears it in all her most recent promotional art, Capcom? Is that why? And look, I know Claire is in the red jacket, but at least she consistently makes it a point.
My dude, she's probably comfortable. Leave her alone. It's probably hot wherever they are. Where are they again? Alcatraz? It gets hot, that area in San Fran this time of year. She wants something that breathes a little bit.
Point to wear some sort of red top, unlike Jill, who has historically always dressed appropriately for the given mission. This has to be one of the stupidest and most niche videos I've ever made, but there you go.
I love it.
Resident Evil is in a really weird place right now. Its canon feels
it's always
like
been
2 separate realities in flux over each other, but Capcom is acting like it's all one timeline. Honestly, I have no real problem with the reboot, but I wish it was being more explicitly acknowledged as such. There's nothing wrong with the new takes on the characters, but I feel like Capcom is treating these distinct variants interchangeably. The games are still great, and they're still selling well. Overall, the franchise is in great shape, but it's different. These characters are not the same as each other.
Right.
Does anyone agree? Disagree? Please let me know in the comments because I'm genuinely curious, and if you look at any of my other videos, you'll see that I actually do engage with my audience. Alright, that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Oh, also, fuck you for changing Wesker's voice, Capcom. This is unacceptable. Wesker must talk through his nose. It's a rule. He has like a sinus problem or something. This is canon. I'm not making it up. Hello, viewer.
Oh god, it's repeating. I mean, fuck Wesker, who gives a shit? I mean, so, yes. I don't know that Capcom's necessarily saying anything about Jill, like, flip-flopping here. It's pretty obvious that Jill is the new Jill going forward, because that's the model that they use with her in Reverse, in Dead by Daylight. That's, like, her new look going forward. And it's just the happenstance of they're doing a remake series where the first remake is the old remake. So it creates this weird paradox of multiple Jills existing in the same timeline where it shouldn't. Does this mean that they should go back and remake RE1 again? Yeah, absolutely. Remake that shit 1,000 times. It's the best RE game in the series, and I would love to see more of it. But, yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I was just a big fan of watching a 13-minute video about Jill. So, thank you for that. Again, this is Thrilling Duck. Let's go ahead and... Okay. This guy seems to do a whole bunch of different stuff. We'll give him a subscribe. And make sure you guys follow him too. Alright, that's it. See ya.